Hi, I'm Scott Robert Lim, and welcome to Think Like a 10K Wedding Photographer mini webcast. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about establishing your career and what to expect when you become a wedding photographer, or this also applies to whatever you're doing with photography or even an artistic career in general. So let's get started. This is a typical graph of a 10 to 15 year wedding career. Typically, if you get into wedding photography, it usually lasts about 10 or 15 years before you're completely burnt out or you want to do something else. So let me kind of talk a little bit about what you can expect. Okay, so when you get into wedding photography, you're pretty happy. Maybe you're transitioning. Maybe you got laid off your job and you got a severance or something, and you want to try wedding photography, or you got the okay from your spouse to quit your terrible job that you hate and start doing photography. Well, whatever you do, at any rate, you start your career, actually you're pretty happy. Then you kind of get into it for about 3 years, and you start scratching your head a little bit. You start thinking, what did I get myself into? And our excitement is a lot less. And perhaps many of us feel when we get to this 3-year point, our success is spotty. We have some success, but then we have some failures, and we're not really making money. We're in fact losing money every year, and we get discouraged. Our images are kind of ho-hum. We don't really feel excited about them. We just don't have that inspiration anymore, like in the beginning. In the beginning, we wake up every day, we're so excited, we got a spring in our step, we can't wait to get going. Now it's a little bit harder to get up and figure out what we're gonna do and so forth. And we lack that inspiration. Got no excitement. It's just the excitement is starting. Sometimes it's there, but it's not there all the time. And if it's not there all the time, you might as well just find yourself another job and make a lot more money. And then the last sign that we're not doing so great is that we actually losing so much money, we got to move back into our parents' house, and we don't want that, right? Some of us are there, that's okay, but we got to do whatever we can to survive. And maybe you're here, maybe you're at this point, and so you go, how do I self-correct myself? Well, the problem is you can't really self-correct yourself, because if you could self-correct yourself, you would be on the upswing and not on the downswing. So when you're sinking, you got to look for help. So perhaps at this point you go, okay, I could get some professional help. Maybe I need a mentor. But at this point I got to question whether it might be too late at that point, because you get that mentor, you start going, right? And you start moving forward, and you're starting to make progress, but your progress is limited. And then now you're 5 years in. And also when you're 3 years in, you used up a lot of your money. So maybe your mentor might suggest investing in this or that. You don't have any more money to invest in your career, not like you did in the beginning of your career. So sometimes improvement is limited because you just don't have any more money to invest into your career. And so you move forward, you move up a little bit, but now maybe you're 4 or 5 years in, and A, maybe you run out of money, or B, your spouse, or both, and your spouse goes, honey, we're 5 years in. What are you doing here? What's the direction here? Is this going to be a viable career? And a lot of times at that point, you got to go back to your corporate job. And it's basically too late. But what I do find success in is when that person from the very get-go starts to have a mentor right away, maybe within 1 year, right? Because at this point, they've got a lot of resources. Their credit cards aren't maxed out at that point. and they can invest in a mentor. And so they get a mentor. They find, well, how do you find a mentor in the first case? Well, first of all, you need to find a mentor that is very, very successful in what you want to do. For example, if you want to shoot seniors, I don't recommend somebody that is a wedding photographer, although that might help a little bit. But in general, you want to find somebody that is successful in what you want to do. And then another thing is, you need to find somebody whose imagery that you respect, okay? And you like the way they shoot, you like the images that they put out, and that you respect that. So I think those are the two major things. Another one is accessibility. Not everybody wants to be a mentor, especially if they have a wedding career. They're not going to give away all their secrets. So, you have to be kind of mindful of that, because how do I know that? Because I went through that situation where I was, at one point in the very, very beginning of my teaching career, I was also shooting weddings. And quite honestly, I held back a little bit. I couldn't give it all because I was still doing that for a living, so I couldn't give all my secrets. So you need to find somebody who's basically retired or semi-retired from the industry, making most of their money doing something else in what you want to do. And that way, this person can just freely tell you everything about the career. Okay, so those are the people that I find do really well. Is they get the mentor in the first place. They start making the right moves right from the beginning, and they can see progress. Yes, they're investing money, but they're keeping busy and they're making money, right? They're in the black and not in the red. And okay, let's say you get up to that $10,000. So you work about 5 to 7 years and you get up to that $10,000 mark. You can probably get there within 4 or 5 years. If you have a mentor. If you're doing it by yourself, it might take you a little while. Like for me, by myself, I would say it took at least 7, 8 years to get me to that point where I was charging $10K a wedding. And so anyways, you're there. You're doing great. You're traveling the world. You're making money. And then you kind of start realizing after the years goes on a little bit that you get a little tired, right? You're very busy, you're making money, but you're tired. You're not super, super happy because you feel like you kind of conquered that mountain already. And you're kind of a little bit restless because you're looking for something else because you've been there, done that. You feel like you're losing your edge. And the thing about wedding photography is every 2-3 years, you feel like you've got to reinvent yourself. You've got to put something new, put a new twist onto what you're doing, because the wedding career is so competitive. Things change constantly. It's kind of like if you were to go into Banana Republic. Would you see the same clothes in there a year later? No. Why? Style changes, fashion changes. And that's the way it is with art too. Everything kind of changes. Like movies, they kind of change, and the styles and what they cover, everything changes, especially if you're in the artistic career. And to keep doing that after 10, 15 years gets very tiring. Learning how to reinvent yourself every 2 or 3 years is a real grind, and sometimes you find you starting to burn out. And so that kind of happiness that you felt when you get to that 10, 15 year point, you start scratching your head again and you go, what's my exit strategy? How can I continue here? Can I duplicate myself and have somebody else run my business? But at that point, when you're doing 10K, 20K weddings plus, you're kind of like Van Gogh or Monet, and there's only one Van Gogh, there's only one Monet, right? And that's what you've become. You've become a one-of-a-kind artist, and it's extremely hard to duplicate yourself because your shooting style, your personality, your branding, everything is uniquely you, and that's why your client hires you. And to have somebody who is like you, it's going to be very, very difficult to duplicate yourself. And then when you realize, oh my gosh, I can't duplicate myself, you're going to go, what am I going to do now? And so the biggest mistake that I thought with my career was I didn't start planning my exit strategy in the beginning of my career. I started it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I wish I would have started it a lot earlier. So anyways, that's some advice for you who are in the industry, or just even start. Maybe you're even 3 years in and gaining some success, and you know that this is going to be your career. Start thinking about an exit strategy, and how you're going to make money without you directly being involved with it, and creating some sort of residual income or something that can bring money in without you having to manage it or you having to fulfill that service every single time. So anyways, that's what your career is going to look like. And if you're interested in kind of getting your career kickstarted, and finding a mentor, by all means, I'm available if you want to contact me about that. Here's some additional resources. I have an app, and like this video will be on it in my learning channel. I have like 15 other videos on there, so you can listen to me and listen and learn about photography at any time. So you can keep updated on my workshops and my blog and you know, my gear and all that kind of stuff. So all you have to do is text 24587 and with the message Scott Robert if you're in the USA. So you text 24587, you in the message you put Scott Robert and you send it off. If you're international, you can just email me at scott@scottrobertgallery.com, and I'll send you a link to download my app. Also, you can also subscribe to me on Facebook at Scott Robert Lim. Okay. Anyways, it's a pleasure talking to you, and until next time, keep moving forward and keep your heads up, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.